sound of my sister's laughter echoes through the thin hospital wall as I die alone. "Oh, James, you're so sweet to stay with me." Sophia's voice carries clearly from the room next to mine. "I don't know what I'd do without you all here." I try to lift my hand to press the call button, but my fingers won't obey. The machines around my bed beep frantically, warning of dropping blood pressure, irregular heartbeat, failing organs. But the hallway outside my ICU room remains empty while my entire family crowds into Sophia's room, where she's being treated for what the nurses whispered was minor gastric distress. My stepmother Margaret's voice joins the chorus. "Don't worry, sweetheart, we're not going anywhere. Elena would understand why we need to be here with you." Would I? Would I understand why my father, stepmother, and fiancé chose to comfort my perfectly healthy sister while I slip away alone? Would I understand why, when both daughters needed care, they automatically assumed the one with the scratched knee required more attention than the one with the severed artery? The irony would be funny if I weren't dying. I've spent the last 15 years of my life saving others in rooms exactly like this one. I've held countless hands as people took their final breaths, promised families that their loved ones weren't alone. Yet here I am, Dr. Elena Chen Morrison, head of cardiac surgery at St. Mary's Hospital, dying in my own workplace while my family tends to my sister's anxiety about a stomachache. The monitor's alarming crescendos, but I can barely hear it over the sound of my father's voice. Richard Chen does not abandon his daughters in their time of need. Apparently, he abandons one of them. As consciousness fades, memories flood my dying brain with startling clarity. For the first time, I see the patterns I was too loving, too trusting, too naive to recognize before. Sophia calling with an emergency every time I had an important presentation. My engagement party where she accidentally spilled wine on her dress, requiring James to spend the entire evening helping her. The medical conference where I was scheduled to deliver a keynote speech. Cut short because Sophia had a panic attack that needed immediate family intervention. My promotion celebration canceled because Sophia couldn't handle being alone. Every milestone, every achievement, every moment that should have been mine, hijacked by her manufactured crises. And my family, my beloved family, always chose her. The financial documents I signed just last week swim before my closing eyes. Documents I thought were routine hospital paperwork, signed in exhaustion after a 36-hour surgery marathon. Margaret had brought them to me with tears in her eyes, explaining how family emergencies had created unexpected expenses, how Sophia needed security after her latest breakdown. I signed them without reading. I trusted them. Now, as my vision darkens, I understand what I really signed. Papers transferring my inheritance to Sophia. My medical practice, my trust fund, my life insurance, all of it going to the sister who's currently laughing while I die. The machine flatlines. The sound stretches into eternity, and then silence. Sunlight streams through familiar windows, and I wake up gasping in my own bed. My bed, in my apartment. The apartment I lost 3 years ago when I couldn't keep up with rent during my residency. I bolt upright, hands flying to my chest where the IV tubes should be, where the monitors should be attached. Nothing. Just my old pajamas and healthy, unbandaged skin. The clock reads 7 a.m., June 15th, my 32nd birthday. The morning of the party where I introduced James to my family, the beginning of the end. I stumble to the bathroom mirror, expecting to see the pale, dying woman from the hospital. Instead, my 32-year-old face stares back. Vibrant, healthy, alive. 3 years younger. 3 years before the betrayal, the manipulation, the death. 3 years to rewrite everything. My phone buzzes with a text from Sophia. "Can't wait for your party tonight. Finally get to meet the famous James." In my past life, I'd thought that message was sweet sisterly excitement. Now I see it for what it really was. A predator sizing up her prey. I stare at the phone, at the party invitation on my dresser, at the woman in the mirror who has a second chance at life. In my past life, I gave them everything. My love, my trust, my money, my fiancé, my life. I died alone while they comforted my manipulative sister in the next room. This time will be different. This time they'll get exactly what they gave me. Nothing. The Chen family estate buzzes with party preparations when I arrive that evening. In my past life, I'd rushed around helping with last-minute details, desperate to make sure everything was perfect for my celebration. Tonight, I walk through the front door with calm confidence, watching everything with new eyes. Elena, darling. Margaret glides over in her designer dress, air kissing near my cheeks. You look different tonight, more composed. Thank you, I say simply, not elaborating. In my past life, I would have gushed about my dress, my hair, my excitement about James meeting the family. Tonight, I observe how Margaret's smile doesn't reach her eyes, how she immediately scans the room to locate Sophia. My father approaches with his usual commanding presence. There's my brilliant daughter, he says, but his gaze is already drifting toward the entrance where guests are arriving. Your sister should be down any moment. She's been so excited about tonight. Has she? I keep my voice neutral, watching how quickly he loses interest in me once Sophia isn't the topic of conversation. James arrives at 8, exactly as he did in my past life. He's handsome in that safe, conventional way that once made my heart flutter. Tonight, I feel nothing but clinical interest as I observe his behavior. Elena, you look stunning, he says, presenting me with flowers. The same flowers he brought before. I can't wait to meet your family. In my past life, I'd been so proud to show him off, so eager for my family's approval. Tonight, I simply smile and guide him toward the living room where Sophia makes her entrance. She descends the staircase like she's walking a red carpet, wearing a dress that's somehow both innocent and seductive. The timing is perfect. She always did have a gift for commanding attention. James, she exclaims as I introduce them, extending her hand with a smile that's all sweetness and light. Elena talks about you constantly. I feel like I already know you. I watch James's face carefully. The same slight widening of the eyes, the same unconscious straightening of his shoulders. In my past life, I'd dismiss these reactions as normal male appreciation for a beautiful woman. Tonight, I see them as the first cracks in his facade. The pleasure is mine, James says, holding her hand just a fraction too long. Elena mentioned she had a sister, but she didn't mention you were practically twins. Sophia laughs, the sound light and musical. Oh, we're nothing alike. Elena's the brilliant surgeon, and I'm just the silly little sister who gets into trouble. The self-deprecating charm that once endeared her to everyone now makes my skin crawl. I watch her position herself between James and me, a movement so subtle anyone else would miss it. Elena tells me you work in healthcare administration, James says to Sophia, completely abandoning our conversation. Just boring charity work, Sophia replies with false modesty. Nothing as important as what Elena does. She saves lives every day. I just organize fundraisers. I know what comes next. In my past life, this conversation continued for 20 minutes while I stood there proudly watching my fiancé bond with my beloved sister. Tonight, I have a different plan. Excuse me, I say calmly. I see Dr. Kim from the hospital. I should greet her. I walk away without looking back, leaving James and Sophia to their flirtation. In my past life, I would never have abandoned my fiancé at my own party. Tonight, I'm curious to see how quickly he forgets about me when I'm not there to witness his betrayal. Dr. Sarah Kim, my mentor and the head of surgery, stands near the windows with a glass of wine. She's one of the few people here who actually cares about me as a person, rather than as an extension of the Chen family legacy. Elena, she greets me warmly. Happy birthday. You seem different tonight, more centered somehow. Thank you. I've been doing some thinking lately about priorities. Sarah raises an eyebrow. That sounds ominous. Everything all right with the residency? The residency is fine. It's everything else I'm reevaluating. We're interrupted by a commotion near the staircase. Sophia has somehow managed to trip and spill red wine down the front of her white dress. James is immediately at her side with napkins, while my father and Margaret rush over with cleaning supplies and concern. Oh no! Sophia wails, tears already forming in her eyes. My dress is ruined, and it's Elena's party. I've made such a mess of everything. In my past life, I would have rushed over to help, assuring her it wasn't a big deal, that accidents happen. I would have spent the rest of my own party making sure she felt better about the incident. Tonight, I remain exactly where I am, sipping my wine and watching the performance. Aren't you going to help? Sarah asks quietly. She seems to have plenty of assistants, I reply. noting how James has his arm around Sophia's waist as he guides her toward the powder room. Besides, she's 30 years old. I think she can handle spilled wine without her big sister's intervention. Sarah looks surprised by my tone, but also somewhat approving. You know, Elena, in all the years I've known you, I've never seen you put yourself first. It's refreshing. I'm learning that some people need to handle their own problems, instead of always depending on others to fix things for them. The party continues, but the dynamic has shifted. James spends most of the evening tending to Sophia's crisis, while my family fusses over her ruined dress and wounded feelings. I circulate among the other guests, having meaningful conversations with colleagues, hospital administrators, and family friends who actually see me as an individual. Marcus Rivera, the hospital's new chief administrator, seeks me out during dinner. In my past life, I barely noticed him, too focused on managing James's interaction with my family. Tonight, I see him clearly, intelligent, genuine, interested in my work rather than my connections. Dr. Chen Morrison, he says, I've been hoping to speak with you about the cardiac surgery expansion proposal. Your research data is impressive. Thank you. I believe we could significantly improve patient outcomes with the right investment in equipment and training. I agree completely. Would you be available to discuss this further? Perhaps over dinner sometime this week. In my past life, I would have been too distracted by James and Sophia's growing connection to pay attention to professional opportunities. Tonight, I smile warmly at Marcus. I'd like that very much. As the evening winds down, I observe the damage. James has Sophia's phone number. My father has praised Sophia's resilience in handling her dress emergency. Margaret has already invited Sophia to join us for Sunday dinner, where she can recover from tonight's trauma. Everything is proceeding exactly as it did in my past life, with one crucial difference. This time, I see it all clearly. When James approaches me near the end of the evening, he seems distracted, his attention still drawn to wherever Sophia has disappeared to. Great party, Elena, he says absently. Your sister she's really something. Yes, I agree calmly. She certainly is. She mentioned she might need some advice about her charity work. Medical fundraising, you know. I told her I'd be happy to help. In my past life, I'd been so proud of James for wanting to help my sister, so grateful that my fiancé and my family were bonding. Tonight, I see the conversation for what it really is, James positioning himself to spend more time with Sophia under the guise of professional consultation. How thoughtful of you, I say with a serene smile. I'm sure you'll find that working with Sophia is illuminating. James looks slightly confused by my tone, but he's too distracted by thoughts of my sister to pursue it. After he leaves, I help with minimal cleanup, deflecting my family's attempts to rehash every detail of Sophia's accident. Finally, alone in my car, I allow myself a moment of satisfaction. Phase 1 is complete. I've established my new boundaries, demonstrated my changed priorities, and set the stage for everything that comes next. In my past life, I would have spent the drive home analyzing every moment of James's interaction with my family, worrying about whether they liked him, planning our future together. Tonight, I'm planning something entirely different. The systematic destruction of everyone who betrayed me, and the construction of a life built on my own terms. The game has begun. My office at the hospital feels different on Monday morning. The same medical journals, the same diplomas on the wall, the same view of the city, but I see everything through the lens of my new knowledge. I know exactly what my family is doing right now, exactly how they're planning to manipulate me, and exactly how it all ends. Unless I change it. I start with the financial records. In my past life, I never bothered to carefully review the family trust documents, assuming my father and Margaret had my best interests at heart. Now I know better. The Chen Family Trust, established by my grandmother, Helen Chen, was designed to provide security for both her granddaughters. According to the original documents I find buried in my files, Sophia and I were supposed to receive equal distributions, with additional funds allocated based on educational achievements and professional accomplishments. By those metrics, I should be receiving significantly more than Sophia, but the trust has been modified 17 times in the past 5 years. Each modification coincidentally occurred during one of Sophia's crises, hospitalizations for anxiety, breakdowns requiring expensive treatments, emergencies requiring immediate financial intervention. Every single modification transferred more control to my father and Margaret, with Sophia as the primary beneficiary. I photograph every document, every signature, every date. In my past life, I trusted them. In this life, I'm building a case. My phone buzzes with a text from Sophia. James already called me. He's so sweet. Wants to help with the children's hospital fundraiser. You picked a good one, sis. The casualness of it, the way she acts like she's doing me a favor by flirting with my fiancé, makes my blood boil. But I've learned to channel that anger into something more productive. Cold, calculating strategy. I text back, I'm sure you'll work well together. Let her think I'm oblivious. Let them all think I haven't noticed the patterns, the manipulations, the systematic theft of my life. Dr. Sarah Kim knocks on my office door, interrupting my research. In my past life, I always saw her as just my mentor. Now I realize she might be my greatest ally. Elena, do you have a minute? I wanted to follow up on our conversation from Saturday night. Of course. I close the financial documents and gesture for her to sit. You seem different at your party, more self-possessed. I've been thinking about our discussion of priorities. Sarah settles into the chair across from my desk, her expression thoughtful. In the 15 years I've known you, I've watched you consistently put everyone else's needs before your own. Your family calls and you cancel your plans. Your sister has a crisis and you sacrifice your opportunities. It's admirable in theory, but it's not sustainable, I finish. Exactly. And frankly, I've always wondered if your family truly appreciates the sacrifices you make. I lean forward, intrigued. What do you mean? Sarah hesitates, clearly choosing her words carefully. Your sister's charity work, for instance. She's received significant recognition for programs that sound remarkably similar to research proposals you've submitted to medical journals. My blood runs cold. What kind of similarities? The Children's Hospital initiative she's launching next month, the methodology, the implementation strategy, even some of the language mirrors your pediatric cardiac surgery improvement plan from last year, the one that was rejected for publication. In my past life, I never connected these dots. I'd been too busy being proud of Sophia's success to notice she was literally stealing my work. Do you have copies of those articles? I asked carefully. I can get them, Elena. I'm not trying to create family drama, but as your mentor, I'm concerned about protecting your intellectual property. I appreciate that more than you know. After Sarah leaves, I sit in my office staring at the city skyline, pieces of the puzzle clicking into place. It wasn't just emotional manipulation and financial theft. Sophia had been building her entire career on my work, using my reputation and connections to establish herself in medical charity circles. My phone rings, James. Elena, hi, I wanted to talk to you about Saturday night. Your sister mentioned she could use some professional advice, and I thought I might be able to help. In my past life, I would have been grateful for his willingness to help my family. Now I hear the excitement in his voice, the eagerness to have an excuse to spend time with Sophia. That's thoughtful of you, I say neutrally. She's really impressive. I had no idea she was doing such important work with children's hospitals. She's much more accomplished than she let on. Because she's accomplished using my work, I think, but don't say. Sophia has always been good at presenting herself well, I reply instead. Would you mind if I took her to lunch this week to discuss her fundraising strategies? She seemed a bit overwhelmed by the scope of her projects. The audacity is breathtaking. He's literally asking my permission to date my sister. You're both adults, I say calmly. You don't need my permission to have lunch. There's a pause. Elena, you sound different. Is everything all right? Everything's fine, James. I'm just focusing on my work lately. Well, that's good. Your sister mentioned you've seemed distracted lately with family issues. Family issues. Already, Sophia is laying the groundwork for why I might seem different, preparing narratives that paint me as unstable while positioning herself as the concerned sister. Did she? I keep my voice light. I haven't mentioned any family issues to Sophia. Another pause. Oh, well, maybe I misunderstood. Anyway, I should let you get back to work. I'll talk to you soon. After he hangs up, I make a decision. If they want to play games, I'll play, but by my rules, with my advantages. I spend the afternoon researching Marcus Rivera. In my past life, I was too distracted by James and family drama to notice that Marcus was not only professionally successful, but also genuinely interested in me as a person. He has an impressive background in healthcare administration, a reputation for integrity, and according to hospital gossip, he's single and selective about dating. More importantly, he seems immune to the Chen family dynamics that have controlled my life for so long. I call his office. Mr. Rivera, this is Dr. Chen Morrison. I was wondering if you were still interested in discussing the cardiac surgery expansion over dinner. Absolutely. Are you free Thursday evening? Perfect. And please, call me Elena. Elena it is. I'm looking forward to it. As I hang up, I feel something I haven't experienced in years. Anticipation for a future I'm creating on my own terms. That evening, I have dinner with my grandmother. Helen Chen is the family matriarch, the source of our wealth, and the one person who might understand what I'm beginning to see. Grandmother, I say carefully as we sit in her elegant dining room, I've been thinking about the family trust lately. Her eyes sharpen. At 72, Helen Chen is still formidable, still sharp as a blade. What about it? I've noticed there have been quite a few modifications in recent years. I was wondering if you approved all of them. Helen sets down her teacup with deliberate precision. What kind of modifications? I pull out copies of the documents. Changes that seem to benefit Sophia disproportionately, often during her various crises. Helen studies the papers, her expression growing increasingly cold. I approved emergency distributions for medical expenses. I did not approve permanent structural changes to benefit allocations. But your signature is on these documents. My signature, yes, but not my approval for what I'm seeing here. She looks up at me with eyes that suddenly remind me exactly where I inherited my intelligence. Elena, do you remember what I taught you about contracts when you were young? Always read everything before you sign. And what have you been signing lately without reading? The question hits like a physical blow. She knows. Somehow my grandmother knows about the papers I signed in the hospital, the ones I thought were routine paperwork. Margaret brought me some documents last week, I admit quietly. I was exhausted from surgery, and she said they were just hospital forms. Helen's expression hardens. What kind of documents? I pull out my phone and show her the photos I took of the trust modifications. Her face goes white as she reviews them. They've transferred everything, she says quietly. Your entire inheritance, your trust fund, even your life insurance beneficiaries, it's all been changed to benefit Sophia. Can we reverse it? Not easily. These are legal documents with your signature, but Elena... She looks at me with something like pride. The fact that you're asking these questions now tells me you're finally seeing the truth about your family. What truth? That love without boundaries isn't love, it's exploitation. That people who truly care about you don't systematically rob you blind while you're too exhausted to notice. We sit in silence for a moment, two women from different generations recognizing the same painful reality. What would you do if you were me? I ask finally. Helen smiles, and for the first time I see the steel behind her elegant facade. I'd stop signing documents without reading them. I'd start protecting myself financially. And I'd remember that blood doesn't make family, loyalty and respect do. Even if it means cutting ties with people I love. Especially then, Elena, I built this family's wealth from nothing. I did not do it so that manipulative people could steal from those who actually earn it. As I drive home, I realize my grandmother has given me more than advice. She's given me permission to fight back and the resources to do it effectively. But first, I need to set some traps. Thursday evening arrives with perfect timing. James is having his lunch with Sophia tomorrow. My father is traveling for business, and Margaret is attending one of her charity galas. The stage is set for me to begin my counteroffensive. Marcus Rivera meets me at Chez Laurent, an upscale restaurant that's intimate enough for serious conversation, but public enough to maintain professional boundaries. In my past life, I would have been too anxious about James and Sophia to appreciate how attractive Marcus is, not just physically, but intellectually. Elena, He greets me warmly, standing as I approach the table. You look beautiful. The compliment is simple, genuine, without the calculating undertone I've learned to recognize in James's words. For the first time in years, I feel appreciated for who I am rather than what I represent. Thank you. I'm sorry I'm a few minutes late. Surgery ran longer than expected. Was it successful? Yes, thankfully. A complex valve replacement that could have gone either way. Marcus's eyes light up with genuine interest. That must be incredibly rewarding, knowing your skills literally save lives. It strikes me that James has never asked about my surgeries, never shown interest in the work that defines my life. He sees my career as a status symbol rather than a passion. We order wine and settle into conversation about the hospital expansion project. Marcus has done his homework. He understands not just the financial implications, but the medical benefits of the proposed changes. And your research on post-operative outcomes is impressive, he says, reviewing the proposal I'd sent him. The cost-benefit analysis alone justifies the investment, but the potential to save lives makes it compelling on multiple levels. Thank you. I believe we could reduce post-surgical complications by at least 15% with the right equipment and training protocols. What kind of resistance are you facing from the board? I hesitate, then decide honesty is the best strategy. Some board members seem to view me as an extension of the Chen family rather than an individual physician. They assume my father's medical group will automatically be involved in any expansion, which creates conflicts of interest. Marcus nods thoughtfully. Hospital politics can be complicated when family businesses are involved. Have you considered establishing your own practice? The question catches me off guard. In my past life, the thought never occurred to me. I was too embedded in family expectations to imagine independence. I've thought about it recently, I admit. The question is timing and funding. Both solvable problems for someone with your reputation and skills. Elena, I've reviewed your surgical outcomes, your research publications, your patient satisfaction scores. You could have your pick of opportunities with or without family connections. Something warm unfurls in my chest. When was the last time someone evaluated me purely on my merits? Our conversation flows naturally from professional topics to personal ones. Marcus is divorced, no children, focused on his career but looking for balance. He's traveled extensively, reads voraciously, and has no patience for manipulative people. I learned the hard way that toxic relationships drain your energy and cloud your judgment, he says when I ask about his divorce. Now, I'm much more careful about the people I let into my life. That's wise, I reply, thinking of my family's systematic manipulation. It can be difficult to recognize toxicity when it's disguised as love or concern. Exactly. The most dangerous manipulators are the ones who convince you their abuse is for your own good. As if summoned by our conversation, my phone buzzes with a text from Sophia. Having the most amazing lunch with James. He's giving me such great advice about the fundraiser. You're so lucky to have him. I show Marcus the message without thinking, then immediately regret the impulse. Sorry, I say quickly. Family drama. Marcus reads the text with a neutral expression. Your sister? Yes, she's having lunch with my fiancé to discuss her charity work. And you're here having dinner with me instead of worrying about it. I suppose I am. Marcus smiles. Good for you. In my experience, relationships that require constant monitoring aren't worth having. The observation is so simple, so obvious, yet it hits me like a revelation. I've spent 3 years of my relationship with James monitoring, managing, and making excuses for his behavior. I've never once had a conversation with him that felt as natural and engaging as this dinner with Marcus. Can I ask you something potentially inappropriate? Marcus says as we finish our entrees. Sure. Are you happy with your fiancé? The question hangs in the air between us. In my past life, I would have automatically said yes, would have listed James's qualities, would have defended our relationship. Tonight, I find myself genuinely considering the answer. I thought I was, I say finally. But lately, I've been questioning whether what we have is love or just habit. What's the difference? Love should make you feel more like yourself, not less. It should enhance your life, not require you to diminish yourself to make room for it. Marcus nods slowly. That's beautifully put. And does your relationship with James make you feel more like yourself? I think about James's immediate fascination with Sophia, his excitement about helping her, his distracted behavior since meeting my family. I think about how I've always felt like I was performing in our relationship, trying to be the perfect girlfriend rather than simply being myself. No, I admit, it doesn't. Then you have your answer. We finish dinner with lighter conversation, but the serious topics we've discussed create an undercurrent of intimacy. When Marcus walks me to my car, there's a moment of hesitation before he speaks. Elena, I know you're engaged, and I respect that. But I want you to know that tonight has been one of the most interesting evenings I've had in years. If circumstances were different. If circumstances were different, I repeat softly. I think I'd like to find out where this could go. Will you keep me posted on how circumstances develop? I smile, feeling lighter than I have in months. I will. As I drive home, my phone rings. James. Elena, where are you? I've been trying to reach you all evening. I was at dinner. Is everything all right? I had lunch with your sister today. We need to talk. My heart rate spikes, but not with anxiety, with anticipation. What about... Not over the phone. Can I come over? It's late, James. Can we talk tomorrow? This is important. It's about us, about our relationship. And there it is. Right on schedule, exactly as it happened in my past life. James is about to break up with me for my sister, but he's going to frame it as concern for my well-being, as if he's doing me a favor. All right, I say calmly. Come over. 30 minutes later, James sits in my living room with the expression of a man about to deliver difficult news. In my past life, I was blindsided by this conversation. Tonight, I know every word he's going to say. Elena, I need to be honest with you about something. Today, talking with Sophia, I realized some things about our relationship. What kinds of things? We've been together for over a year, but I feel like I don't really know you. You're always so composed, so perfect, so controlled. I never see the real you. The irony is breathtaking. James is criticizing me for being too controlled while he's having lunch dates with my sister behind my back. And Sophia showed you something different? I ask calmly. James has the grace to look embarrassed. She's so genuine, so open about her struggles and vulnerabilities. She made me realize that you and I might not be as compatible as I thought. I see. Elena, you're an amazing woman. You're brilliant, successful, beautiful, but I think we both deserve relationships where we can be completely ourselves. You're breaking up with me. I'm suggesting we take a break to figure out what we really want. In my past life, this conversation devastated me. I begged him to reconsider, promised to be more open, more vulnerable. I blamed myself for not being enough. Tonight, I feel nothing but relief. You're right, I say simply. James looks startled. I am. Yes, we haven't been compatible for a long time. I just wasn't ready to admit it. Oh, well, good. I'm glad you agree. He seems deflated by my reaction, as if he was expecting more drama, more emotional labor from me. Are you seeing Sophia? I ask directly. Elena, it's not like that. We're friends. She's helping me understand some things about myself, about what I want in a relationship. That's not what I asked. James shifts uncomfortably. We have a connection, yes, but nothing has happened between us. I would never cheat on you. How noble. Elena, don't be like this. We're being mature about this situation. You're absolutely right. We are. I stand up, signaling the end of the conversation. I'll have your things packed by tomorrow evening. James leaves looking confused and slightly disappointed, as if my calm reaction has robbed him of some satisfaction. In my past life, he got the dramatic breakup scene he probably wanted. Tonight, he got nothing but polite efficiency. After he's gone, I pour myself a glass of wine and sit on my couch, processing what just happened. I've lost my fiancé to my sister exactly as I did before. But this time, I'm not devastated. I'm liberated. And now the real game begins. The call comes at 6 a.m. on Monday morning, 3 days after my breakup with James became public knowledge. My father's voice is tight with controlled anger. Elena, we need to talk. Family meeting tonight at 7. What about? You know what about? This situation with James and Sophia has created unnecessary drama, and we need to manage it before it affects the family's reputation. I almost laugh. In my past life, I would have been mortified by the idea that my broken engagement was causing family embarrassment. Tonight, I understand that my father's primary concern isn't my emotional well-being, it's damage control. I'll be there, I say calmly. The hospital day passes in a blur of surgeries and consultations. Between procedures, I finalize the paperwork for something I've been planning since my dinner with Marcus. My resignation from the Chen Medical Group and my application to establish an independent practice. Dr. Sarah Kim finds me in my office during lunch, holding a manila folder. Elena, I have those articles we discussed. The similarities between your research and your sister's charity work are extensive. She spreads the documents across my desk. My pediatric cardiac surgery improvement plan, submitted to the New England Journal of Medicine and rejected for publication, sits next to Sophia's press release announcing her innovative children's hospital initiative. The language is nearly identical. The methodology is exactly the same. Even the implementation timeline matches my original proposal. This is plagiarism, I say quietly. It's worse than that. She's not just stealing your work, she's profiting from it. Look at this. Sarah shows me financial documents she's obtained through her hospital contacts. Sophia's charity has received significant grants based on her original research methodology. Money that should have gone to fund actual medical research is instead funding her lifestyle and building her reputation. How long has this been going on? At least 3 years, from what I can find. Elena, this isn't just intellectual theft, it's fraud. I photograph every document, every article, every piece of evidence. In my past life, I never would have believed my beloved sister capable of such calculated theft. Now I see it as just another layer of her systematic exploitation. Sarah, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Of course. How long have you known about this? Sarah looks uncomfortable. I've suspected for over a year, but Elena, you were so proud of Sophia's success, so happy that she was following in your footsteps. I didn't want to hurt you by suggesting she was stealing from you. And now I see that protecting you from the truth was actually enabling her to continue hurting you. I lean back in my chair, processing this revelation. Even my mentor, someone who genuinely cares about me, contributed to my victimization by staying silent about Sophia's crimes. Thank you for telling me now, I say finally, and thank you for gathering this evidence. What are you going to do with it? I'm not sure yet, but I promise you, Sophia's career built on stolen work is about to come to an end. That evening, I arrive at the family estate precisely at 7. The formal dining room has been set for a tribunal rather than a family dinner. My father at the head of the table, Margaret to his right, and Sophia positioned as the victim with tissues already in hand. James sits beside Sophia, which confirms everything I suspected about their relationship timeline. Elena, my father begins without preamble, this situation has gotten out of hand. Your behavior since the party has been erratic and concerning. Breaking up with James, refusing to support your sister during a difficult time, this isn't like you. In my past life, I would have been defensive, would have tried to explain my perspective. Tonight, I simply sit and listen, taking notes on every accusation, every manipulation tactic. James has told us about your conversation, Margaret adds, her voice dripping with false concern. You've been cold and distant, almost cruel in your dismissal of his attempts to work things out. I look at James, who has the grace to appear embarrassed. Is that how you described our breakup conversation? That I was cold and cruel? Elena, you have to admit your reaction was unusual. Most people would be more emotional about ending an engagement. Maybe most people would be more emotional if they were actually surprised by their fiancé's behavior. Sophia speaks up for the first time, her voice shaking with manufactured emotion. Elena, I never meant for any of this to happen. James and I just connected as friends, and friends don't have romantic dinners at the Ritz-Carlton, I interrupt calmly. The silence that follows is deafening. Sophia's eyes widen in panic. She didn't expect me to know about their dinner last night. How did you? James starts to ask, then stops himself. How did I know? Because unlike you, I have friends who actually care about me. Dr. Martinez from cardiology saw you there and was concerned enough to mention it. It's a lie, but a useful one. I haven't had them followed. I simply remember from my past life that they went to the Ritz the night before this family meeting. My father's face darkens. Regardless of what may or may not have happened, you are handling this situation poorly. The Chen family does not air its private business in public, and we do not abandon family members when they need support. Support for what exactly? Sophia's not sick. She's not in crisis. She's a 30-year-old woman who pursued her sister's fiancé and is now trying to play the victim when she succeeded. Elena, Margaret gasps. How can you say such things about your own sister? Because they're true, and because I'm tired of pretending otherwise. I stand up, pulling out my phone and the documents Sarah gave me earlier. Since we're having this conversation, let's discuss something else that's been bothering me. Sophia, tell everyone about your groundbreaking children's hospital initiative. Sophia looks confused. What about it? Tell them about your innovative research methodology, the one that's earned you so much recognition and funding. Elena, what are you doing? My father asks sharply. I'm exposing the truth. I spread the documents across the table. These are copies of my research proposals from the past 3 years, and these are Sophia's charity announcements, press releases, and grant applications. James picks up one of my original research papers, then compares it to Sophia's press release. His expression changes as he realizes what he's seeing. The language is identical, he says quietly. Not just the language. The entire methodology, the implementation strategy, even the budget projections. Sophia has been stealing my work and presenting it as her own for at least 3 years. Sophia's face goes white. Elena, that's not... you never told me I couldn't use... Use what? My original research that I spent months developing? My intellectual property that you stole and profited from? It's not stealing if it's family, Sophia bursts out, then immediately realizes her mistake. The admission hangs in the air like a toxic cloud. She's just confessed to deliberately stealing my work while claiming it's acceptable because we're related. My father tries to regain control. Elena, even if there are similarities in your work, surely you can understand that family members often influence each other's ideas. Dad, stop. I gather the documents and put them back in my folder. Just stop. I know what this is, you know what this is, and everyone at this table knows what this is. Sophia built her entire career on work she stole from me, and you all not only allowed it, but helped her do it. That's not true, Margaret protests. Isn't it? Who arranged the introductions to charity board members? Who provided the initial funding for her research? Who made sure she got invited to medical conferences where she could present my work as her own? The accusations hit their targets. Margaret arranged the introductions. My father provided the funding. They facilitated every step of Sophia's theft. We supported both our daughters equally, my father says, but his voice lacks conviction. No, you didn't. You supported the daughter who made you feel needed, who played the victim, who required constant rescue. You enabled a fraud while taking credit for the achievements of the daughter who actually earned them. I moved toward the door, then turned back for my final statement. I'm resigning from the Chen Medical Group effective immediately. I'm establishing my own practice, my own reputation, and my own life separate from this family's dysfunction. Sophia, your career built on stolen work ends now. I'm reporting the plagiarism to every journal, every charity board, and every funding organization you've defrauded. Elena, wait, my father calls. And one more thing. James, I hope you're happy with your choice. You traded a relationship with someone who loved you for one with someone who's built their entire life on lies. You deserve each other. I leave them sitting in stunned silence, their carefully constructed narrative shattered by simple truth. As I drive home, my phone explodes with calls and texts. Angry messages from my father, pleading voicemails from Margaret, hysterical texts from Sophia, and confused attempts at contact from James. I ignore them all. Instead, I call Marcus Rivera. Elena, I wasn't expecting to hear from you tonight. Marcus, remember when you asked me to keep you posted on how circumstances develop? Yes. Well, they just developed significantly. Are you free for coffee tomorrow morning? I have a business proposition for you. I'm intrigued. What kind of business proposition? The kind that involves establishing an independent cardiac surgery practice with a partner who values integrity over family politics. There's a pause, then Marcus's warm laughter. Elena, I think tomorrow morning can't come soon enough. As I hang up, I feel something I haven't experienced in years, complete control over my own life. The first phase of my revenge is complete. I've separated myself professionally from the family that exploited me, exposed Sophia's fraud, and positioned myself for success independent of their influence. But this is just the beginning. In my past life, they destroyed me slowly, systematically, over years of manipulation and theft. In this life, I'm going to return the favor, but much more efficiently. The next morning brings exactly the chaos I expected. My phone has 37 missed calls from family members, and my email inbox is flooded with increasingly desperate messages. But the most telling communication comes from my father's lawyer. A formal letter demanding I return to the Chen Medical Group and cease my defamatory accusations against Sophia. The speed of the legal response confirms what I suspected. They're terrified. My coffee meeting with Marcus takes place at a quiet cafe downtown, away from the hospital and family drama. He arrives with a briefcase and an expression of barely contained excitement. Elena, I spent all night researching your case. What you've uncovered isn't just plagiarism, it's systematic charity fraud. Sophia has obtained over $2 million in grants based on research she stole from you. $2 million? I knew it was substantial, but the actual figure is staggering. And that's just what I could find in public records. There's likely more. Marcus opens his briefcase and pulls out a folder thick with documents. I also looked into your family's financial structure. The Chen Family Trust has some interesting irregularities. He shows me bank statements, trust modifications, and fund transfers that paint a clear picture of financial manipulation. Your stepmother has been systematically transferring assets from your trust allocation to Sophia's, using manufactured emergencies as justification. But here's the thing. Many of these transfers violate the original trust terms established by your grandmother. Meaning they're not just unethical, they're illegal. Financial elder abuse, fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, you have grounds for both civil and criminal charges. I stare at the documents, seeing my family's betrayal laid out in black and white. In my past life, I died never knowing the full extent of their theft. Now I have proof of everything. What would you recommend? Marcus leans forward, his expression serious. Professionally, I'd recommend we establish your independent practice immediately before they can take any legal action to prevent it. Personally, I'd recommend you protect yourself financially before they realize how much you know. How? Your grandmother is still the ultimate authority over the trust. If she's willing to cooperate, we could freeze all current distributions pending a full audit. That would stop their ability to steal from you while we build our case. I think about my conversation with grandmother Helen, her quiet fury when she realized the extent of the financial manipulation. I think she'd be very willing to cooperate. Good. Because Elena, what they've done to you isn't just morally wrong, it's criminal. They've stolen your work, your money, and your opportunities. It's time to make them face the consequences. We spend the next 2 hours mapping out a strategy. Marcus has connections throughout the medical and legal communities, resources I never knew existed. More importantly, he sees the situation clearly, without the emotional complications that clouded my judgment in my past life. There's something else, I tell him as we prepare to leave. In my past life, if I had continued on the same path, I would have died alone while my family chose to comfort Sophia instead of me. Marcus looks puzzled. Your past life? I realize my slip and cover quickly. The path I was on before I started seeing things clearly. I was so focused on pleasing them, so desperate for their approval, that I was literally killing myself with stress and overwork. And now I'm choosing myself. For the first time in my life, I'm putting my own needs first. Marcus smiles. I think that's the healthiest thing I've ever heard you say. That afternoon, I drive to my grandmother's estate. Helen Chen receives me in her private study, surrounded by family photos that now look like evidence of a complex fraud. "Grandmother, I need your help with something serious." "The trust modifications," she says immediately. "I've been doing my own investigation since our last conversation. Elena, what they've done is unconscionable. Can we stop it?" "We can do more than stop it. We can reverse it, prosecute it, and ensure it never happens again." Helen's eyes are steel. "I built this family's wealth to provide security for my descendants, not to fund one granddaughter's theft from another." She opens a safe behind her desk and pulls out the original trust documents, along with a folder I've never seen before. "These are the real trust terms, the ones your father has been systematically violating. And these," she hands me a second folder, "are the evidence I've been gathering of every illegal modification, every fraudulent transfer, every breach of fiduciary duty. The documents are damning. My father and Margaret haven't just been stealing from me. They've been stealing from the trust itself, using family money to fund their lifestyle while claiming it was for Sophia's medical needs. Why didn't you stop them sooner?" "Because I wanted to see if you would find the strength to stop them yourself." "Elena, you've spent your entire adult life trying to earn love from people who only see you as a resource to exploit. I needed to know you could recognize that before I intervened. And now I see that you've finally learned to value yourself. So, yes, I'll help you destroy them financially. It's what they deserve, and frankly, it's what the family needs." Helen makes a phone call to her lawyer, then another to her accountant. Within an hour, all trust distributions are frozen, all accounts are under review, and a forensic audit has been ordered. My phone starts ringing immediately. "Elena," my father's voice is panicked. "What have you done? All our accounts have been frozen." "I haven't done anything, Dad. Grandmother has ordered an audit of the trust to ensure all funds have been distributed according to the original terms. This is ridiculous. We need access to those funds." "For what? Sophia's medical emergencies? Her charity work? Or maybe just your lifestyle expenses that you've been charging to the family trust?" There's silence on the other end, then a different tone. "Elena, I think you're having some kind of breakdown. This behavior isn't like you. Maybe you should see someone, get some help." The gaslighting attempt is so blatant, so predictable that I almost laugh. "Dad, the only thing I need help with is calculating how much money you've stolen from me over the years. Grandmother's forensic accountant should have those figures soon." I hang up and immediately call Marcus. "Phase 2 is complete," I tell him. "They're financially frozen and panicking." "How do you feel?" "Powerful," I admit. "For the first time in my life, I feel like I have real power." "Good, because tomorrow we're going to need it. I've scheduled meetings with 3 different medical journals about Sophia's plagiarism. Are you ready to go public with the academic fraud?" "I'm ready for everything." That evening, I receive a visit from James. He stands on my doorstep looking haggard, confused, and desperate. "Elena, please, we need to talk about what's happening with your family." "What about it?" "Sophia is devastated. Your father is talking about disowning you. Margaret is having panic attacks because their credit cards have been declined. What have you done?" I look at this man who is supposed to love me, who chose my manipulative sister over me, who is now standing on my doorstep begging me to sacrifice myself once again for people who've never sacrificed anything for me. I've stopped enabling theft and fraud. If that devastates Sophia, maybe she should have thought about that before she built her career on stolen work. "Elena, she made mistakes, but she's family. You can't destroy your own sister over some research papers." "Some research papers? James, she stole millions of dollars in funding based on work she plagiarized from me. She's committed charity fraud on a massive scale, and you're asking me to overlook it because we share DNA? I'm asking you to remember that love means forgiveness." "No, James. Love means respect, honesty, and mutual support. What Sophia and my family have been doing to me isn't love. It's exploitation. And what you're doing right now isn't love either. It's manipulation. Elena, please. If you continue down this path, you'll lose everyone. Is revenge really worth being alone?" I look at this man who never truly saw me, who fell for my sister's lies, who is now trying to guilt me into returning to my role as the family's victim. James, I'd rather be alone with my integrity than surrounded by people who see me as a resource to exploit. And frankly, if exposing theft and fraud costs me relationships, then those relationships were never worth having. You've changed. Yes, I have. I've stopped being a victim. After he leaves, I pour myself a glass of wine and sit on my couch, processing the events of the day. In my past life, James's visit would have broken my resolve, would have sent me running back to my family begging for forgiveness. Tonight, his desperation only confirms that I'm winning. My phone buzzes with a text from Marcus. Tomorrow's meetings are confirmed. Are you ready to end Sophia's career? I text back, I've been ready for 3 years. The financial warfare is complete. My family is frozen out of their stolen funds, facing criminal charges, and watching their reputation crumble. But destroying Sophia's career built on my stolen work, that's going to be the most satisfying part of all. The meeting at the New England Journal of Medicine feels like a reckoning. Editor-in-Chief Dr. Patricia Brennan sits across from me with my original research proposal, Sophia's published charity materials, and a forensic linguistics report that conclusively proves plagiarism. Dr. Chen Morrison, she says gravely, in my 30 years in medical publishing, I've rarely seen plagiarism this extensive and systematic. Your sister didn't just steal your work, she built an entire career on it. Marcus sits beside me, having insisted on being present as both my business partner and moral support. His presence anchors me, reminds me that I'm not alone in this fight. What are the next steps? I ask. We're publishing a formal retraction notice for every article, paper, and publication that used your stolen research. We're also issuing a statement about academic fraud that will be circulated to every major medical journal and charity organization in the country. She slides a document across the table. This is the draft of our press release. I wanted you to review it before we go public. I read the statement, my heart pounding with satisfaction. It's professional, factual, and utterly devastating to Sophia's reputation. Following a comprehensive investigation, the New England Journal of Medicine has determined that Dr. Sophia Chen Morrison systematically plagiarized research from Dr. Elena Chen Morrison over a period of at least 3 years. All publications, citations, and recommendations based on the stolen work are hereby retracted. We are cooperating with law enforcement regarding potential criminal fraud charges related to grant money obtained through these false publications. When will this be published? This afternoon. Simultaneously, we're contacting every organization that gave your sister grants, awards, or recognition based on stolen work. By tomorrow morning, her entire professional reputation will be in ruins. I should feel guilty about destroying my sister's career. In my past life, I would have felt guilty. Today, I feel nothing but cold satisfaction. Thank you, I tell Dr. Brennan, for believing me and for taking this seriously. Dr. Chen Morrison, academic integrity is the foundation of medical research. What your sister did doesn't just harm you, it undermines trust in our entire field. She chose to make herself a cautionary tale. As we leave the meeting, Marcus takes my hand. How do you feel? Like I'm finally getting justice. Any second thoughts about exposing her so publicly? I think about the question seriously. In a few hours, Sophia's career will be over, her reputation destroyed, her future in medical charity work eliminated. Am I being too harsh? Then I remember dying alone in a hospital bed while my family comforted her in the next room. I remember years of stolen achievements, manipulated crises, and systematic financial theft. I remember James falling for her lies and my family enabling her fraud. No second thoughts, I say firmly. She made her choices. Now she gets to live with the consequences. By evening, the story has exploded across medical and charity circles. My phone is flooded with calls from reporters, colleagues, and acquaintances who are shocked by the revelations. But the most satisfying calls come from organizations that are distancing themselves from Sophia. The Children's Hospital Foundation calls to inform me they're terminating their relationship with Sophia and freezing all funds from her fraudulent grants. The Medical Charity Alliance removes her from their board of directors. 3 separate awards organizations announce they're rescinding recognition they previously gave her. Marcus and I watch the story unfold from my apartment, sharing takeout and wine while monitoring social media and news coverage. Look at this, Marcus says, showing me his phone. The hospital where Sophia gave that keynote speech last month just issued a statement saying they were deceived by fraudulent credentials. I read the statement, marveling at how quickly institutions distance themselves once fraud is exposed. In my past life, these same organizations treated Sophia like a rising star in medical charity work. Elena, Marcus says quietly, I need to ask you something. What? Are you sure you're okay with how devastating this is for her? I support you completely, but this level of professional destruction is significant. I look at him and this man who's supported me through the most difficult period of my life, who's helped me reclaim my power and dignity. He deserves an honest answer. Marcus, let me tell you what would have happened if I hadn't stopped this. Sophia would have continued stealing my work, my family would have continued manipulating me financially, and I would have died young from the stress of trying to earn love from people who only saw me as a resource to exploit. Died young, Elena, that seems... I'm not being dramatic. I was working myself to death trying to prove I was worthy of their love while they systematically robbed me blind. Sophia chose to build her career on fraud. My family chose to enable her while victimizing me. They all chose their path. I'm just making sure they face the consequences. Marcus nods slowly. You're right. I just want to make sure you're protecting yourself emotionally through this process. I am. For the first time in my life, I'm actually protecting myself. My phone rings. Sophia, I answer, putting it on speaker so Marcus can hear. Elena, please. Sophia's voice is raw from crying. You have to stop this. My career is ruined. Everything I've worked for is gone. Everything you stole, you mean? It wasn't stealing. We're sisters. I thought you'd be proud that I was following in your footsteps. Following in my footsteps by plagiarizing my work and taking credit for my achievements? I made mistakes, okay? But this punishment is too severe. Please, call the journals. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. Tell them we collaborated. Sophia, stop. Just stop. You didn't make mistakes. You made choices. You chose to steal my work. You chose to lie to funding organizations. You chose to build your entire career on fraud. Now you get to live with those choices. But I'm your sister. You were my sister. Sisters don't systematically rob each other. Sisters don't steal credit for each other's work. Sisters don't manipulate family crises to redirect attention from each other's achievements. Elena, I never meant... Yes, you did. Every single thing you did was deliberate and calculated. You meant all of it. There's silence, then sobbing. What am I supposed to do now? How am I supposed to rebuild my life? I don't know, Sophia, and honestly, I don't care. You destroyed my trust, stole my work, and manipulated my family against me. Figure out your own solution. I hang up and turn off my phone. Marcus looks at me with something like awe. Elena, that was definitive. It needed to be. She spent her entire adult life manipulating me through guilt and fake vulnerability. I'm done being manipulated. How do you think your father and stepmother are handling this? As if summoned by his question, someone pounds on my apartment door. Heavy, angry knocking that can only be my father. I open the door to find him standing there with Margaret, both looking haggard and furious. Elena, my father says coldly, we need to talk. About what? About ending this vindictive campaign against your family. I step aside to let them in, curious to see what new manipulation tactics they'll try. Margaret immediately begins the emotional appeal. Elena, sweetheart, I know you're angry, but this has gone too far. Sophia is devastated. She's talking about hurting herself. The suicide threat. Right on schedule, exactly as it happened in my past life. In my previous timeline, this threat sent me running back to the family, desperate to save Sophia from her despair over the consequences of her own actions. Is she? I ask calmly. Margaret looks shocked by my composed response. Elena, she's your sister. Doesn't that mean anything to you? It means I spent 32 years putting her needs before my own, enabling her worst behaviors and allowing her to steal from me with impunity. But it doesn't mean I'm responsible for managing her emotional response to facing consequences for fraud. My father steps forward, trying his authoritative approach. Elena, you're going to call those journals and retract your accusations. You're going to restore Sophia's reputation, and you're going to return to the family. Or what? Or you'll be cut off from the family completely. No inheritance, no trust fund, no family support. You'll be alone. I look at these people who raised me, who I loved unconditionally for decades, who systematically exploited that love to rob me blind. Dad, you already stole my inheritance. You already turned the family against me when it served your purposes. And I've already built my own support system with people who actually value me. You have nothing left to threaten me with. Elena, Margaret tries a different tack. You're not thinking clearly. This obsession with revenge is unhealthy. Maybe you should see a therapist, get some help dealing with your anger. I'm not angry, I reply honestly. I'm done. There's a difference. Done with what? Done being your victim. Done enabling Sophia's fraud. Done sacrificing my needs for people who see me as a resource to exploit. I'm done with all of it. My father's face darkens. If you continue down this path, Elena, you'll lose everything that matters. No, Dad. I already lost everything that mattered when I realized the people I loved most were systematically destroying me. Now I'm just making sure you face the same consequences I did. They leave without another word, and I know I'll never see them again as family members. They might appear in court as defendants, but the relationships that defined my first 32 years of life are over. Marcus, who watched the entire confrontation in silence, finally speaks. Elena, are you okay? I'm better than okay. I'm free. No regrets? I think about the question carefully. Do I regret exposing Sophia's fraud and destroying her career? Do I regret freezing my family's access to stolen funds? Do I regret ending relationships with people who never truly loved me? None, I say finally. For the first time in my life, I have absolutely no regrets. Marcus smiles and pulls me into his arms. Then let's celebrate your freedom. As we kiss, I realize that revenge isn't just about destroying the people who wronged you. Sometimes it's about reclaiming your power, your dignity, and your right to be valued for who you truly are. Tomorrow, the real consequences begin. Legal proceedings, financial restitution, and professional rebuilding. But tonight, I'm exactly where I belong. Free from toxic relationships and surrounded by people who see my worth. The social destruction phase is complete. Now it's time for justice. 6 months later, I stand in a federal courthouse watching my family face the consequences of their choices. The forensic audit revealed over $3 million in fraudulent transactions, money that was systematically stolen from my trust fund and used to finance Sophia's lifestyle and fake charity work. Marcus sits beside me in the gallery, his hand warm and steady in mine. We've become partners in every sense, business partners in our thriving independent practice, and romantic partners in a relationship built on mutual respect and genuine love. My father sits at the defendant's table looking older than his 68 years. Margaret is beside him, no longer the polished socialite, but a woman facing federal fraud charges. Sophia isn't here. She took a plea deal that includes restitution, community service, and a permanent ban from working in medical charities. Judge Williams reads the verdict with clinical precision. On the charges of financial elder abuse, breach of fiduciary duty, and conspiracy to commit fraud, the court finds the defendants guilty on all counts. The sentences are appropriate. My father gets 2 years in federal prison and full restitution of stolen funds. Margaret gets 18 months and forfeiture of all assets purchased with fraudulent money. Together, they owe me over $4 million in stolen funds, interest, and penalties. But the money isn't what satisfies me most. It's the recognition that what they did was criminal, not just morally wrong. For years, they convinced me that their treatment was normal family dynamics. Today, a federal judge confirmed it was systematic abuse. As we leave the courthouse, reporters swarm around us. The story has become a cautionary tale about financial elder abuse and academic fraud, but I've learned to handle media attention with the same composure I use in surgery. Dr. Chen Morrison, one reporter calls out, do you have any regrets about prosecuting your own family? I pause, considering the question that everyone seems obsessed with. Do I regret seeking justice against people who happen to be related to me? I regret that it was necessary, I say finally. I regret that people I loved chose to exploit that love rather than reciprocate it. But I don't regret holding criminals accountable for their crimes, regardless of their DNA. What's next for you professionally? Marcus steps forward, his arm around my waist in a gesture of support and partnership. Dr. Chen Morrison and I are expanding our cardiac surgery practice. We're also establishing a foundation to help victims of financial elder abuse, something that's obviously important to both of us. As we walk away from the courthouse, I feel a sense of completion that I never experienced in my past life. Justice has been served, my reputation has been restored, and my future is entirely in my own hands. How does it feel? Marcus asks as we drive back to our office. Like I can finally breathe, I admit. For the first time in my adult life, I don't owe anyone anything. I don't need anyone's approval. I don't need to manage anyone's emotions. And I don't need to sacrifice my needs for people who don't value me. And how does that feel? Powerful, peaceful. Like I'm finally living my own life instead of the life other people designed for me. Our practice has become one of the most respected cardiac surgery centers in the city. Without the burden of family drama and financial manipulation, I've been able to focus entirely on my work, my research, and building something meaningful with Marcus. My grandmother visits us that afternoon, looking younger and more vibrant than she has in years. Helen Chen has become my closest family relationship, the only blood relative who chose loyalty and love over exploitation and theft. Elena, she says as we sit in our office conference room, I have something for you. She hands me a legal document that makes my heart skip a beat. The deed to the family estate. Grandmother, I can't accept this. You can and you will. That house represents everything I built for my family. Your father and Margaret defiled it with their greed and manipulation. You've restored honor to the Chen name, and you deserve to inherit what was always meant to be yours. I look at the deed, thinking about the house where I grew up, where I learned to value family above all else, where I was systematically victimized by the people who were supposed to protect me. I don't want to live there, I say finally. Too many painful memories. Then don't live there. Sell it, donate it, turn it into a medical clinic. Whatever brings you peace. But own it first. Take back what was stolen from you. That evening, Marcus and I walk through the estate that will soon be mine. The rooms that once seemed elegant now feel hollow, tainted by years of manipulation and deceit. What are you thinking? Marcus asks as we stand in the formal dining room where my family held their tribunal 6 months ago. I'm thinking about turning this into a treatment center for victims of family financial abuse. A place where people can get legal help, counseling, and medical care when their own families have exploited them. Marcus smiles. That's perfect. You'd be transforming a place of trauma into a place of healing. It feels right, like I'm reclaiming not just the property, but the purpose it was meant to serve. We continue our tour, and I find myself feeling nothing for the house itself. No nostalgia, no sadness, no attachment. It's just a building that once housed people who hurt me. Soon, it will house people who help others heal from similar wounds. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I open it. It's from Sophia. Elena, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted you to know that I'm in therapy now. I'm trying to understand why I did what I did to you. I'm not asking for forgiveness, but I wanted you to know that I finally see how wrong I was. I show the text to Marcus. What do you think? I think it's the first honest thing she's ever said to you, but I also think it doesn't change anything. He's right. Sophia's newfound self-awareness doesn't undo years of theft and manipulation. It doesn't restore the trust she destroyed or repair the damage she caused. It's simply acknowledgement of reality, something that should have happened decades